everybody, we're back. Real show. My apologies for next week. I inadvertently blamed a little bit of that on Sam, which was a total lie. I did correct it in real time, but I will correct it again here. It was me and my kid's scheduling that made last week not work for us. Not Sam, because Sam's awesome. We're Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out what's going on there. Big news this week in the national front. Big news this week. No, not really. This week locally is the same news we've had the past 3 weeks. But we'll touch on that again, among other stuff. Our good friend John's going to sit in here and give us the update on the pedo Roblox scandal scenario. I don't know. There's enough things for me to keep up with that I haven't tried to keep up with that one. That's why I bring in my professional assistant on that particular topic. So we're going to let this intro finish playing out, and we're going to check in with John and see what's going on with that. And then me and Sam are going to continue on and talk about the other things that are going on. So here we go. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Sam Lamb, what's going on, my friend? What's new with you?
Not much.
Anything exciting? Anything you want to share?
No, thank you.
All right. We got the important part side of the show. John is in the room.
Hi.
Hi.
Are my headphones on?
Probably not. I've been having issues with the headphone system as of late. You can't hear nothing?
No.
All right. Well, take them off. Don't worry about it. Just keep your mouth on near the microphone, and if you sound bad, I'll let you know. I took this thing apart this week. You were at school, or something. I don't know. I took it apart and I tried to do some dusting and cleaning, but there was a level of actually taking the motherboard off that I was not comfortable with. So I just air dusted the shiz out of it and then put it back together so we could get back to work. But I'm having some structural issues with this thing, and I got to figure it out. So. That's the update on the equipment and the hardware situation we got going on. So, John, you are here for one purpose, and one purpose alone. You are going to tell me the newest and most important things that are going on in the pedophile Roblox scandal ring of stuff. I mean, yeah, it's a lot bigger. It's not just about pedos and stuff. So, I guess I'm going to start off with one of the bigger things. So, Roblox, they have, like... Hold on, let me interrupt real quick. I just got a random question for Sam that crossed my mind. Did, significant mass pedophilia exist to you when you were in 7th grade? Is that something you remember thinking about at all?
I remember being in, 1st or 2nd grade. And them doing,
the stranger danger talk?
Yeah.
But as far as, in the zeitgeist, it was something you were warned about, but it wasn't something that you had, knowledge of the real existence of it other than that warning. We'll come back to that. It was a thought that had crossed my brain just now. I apologize, John, for interrupting.
Okay.
It's us being old men. Continue as you were. I apologize again.
All right, so Roblox has, I believe, a yearly event. I don't really know. I don't really care too much about Roblox, and I haven't really for a while. But they have, I believe, a yearly event called R6, I think.
Okay. But
it's just basically an award show of what Roblox games won what. And so they have a Q&A inside of it where normally it is publicly live streamed, while this year in particular it wasn't live streamed, it wasn't turned into a video, it wasn't nothing. It wasn't recorded because, or it wasn't even done because they knew that people would ask about the schlup situation. And whenever the owner of Roblox came onto the stage, it was either dead silent or sometime... Because, they'd go on and off the stage every once in a while, I believe. But I believe whenever he walked on the stage for the first time, instead of cheering that he was expecting, it was just a ton of boos and stuff. And then whenever he went down and back onto the stage, it was just silent instead of, any noise. But yeah, so R6 was it did what it was supposed to do, although the drama definitely has changed a lot of stuff. Alright, and there is this YouTuber. His name is Law by Mike. I don't think either of you know him, although people who listen to this might. Basically, he is a lawyer who makes YouTube things about laws and stuff. And he made a YouTube short, basically just saying that, talking a small bit about the schlep trauma, and if that short got to a certain amount of likes, he'd make a long form. Long story short, he did, and so basically he's teaming up with Schlepp's legal team to sue Roblox for child endangerment. So yeah, along with Roblox still doubling down on that claim. This is off topic, but it just came to mind. I remember hearing a video about scientists in Antarctica. And this is from the same information that I get my schlep trauma stuff from. So, yeah. But apparently, Antarctica freaking scientists, they dug into the ice further than they ever have before, and they found an organism that apparently had clear skin, didn't look like any creature we know. Its veins were slightly glowing, they stated. It reacted to sound, and it seemed to be alive.
Dun, dun, dun. I did hear something about that, but I'm not sure how credible it is.
Which, if that's true, that could legitimately be an alien stuck underneath ice.
Years ago, they found, I think it was called a tardigrade. Some little tiny thing. They call it a water bear or ice bear or something.
Yeah, a tardigrade. From what I've heard, this is seeable with the human eye, but tardigrades aren't.
Yeah, they're super tiny.
Yeah, they're super tiny, and they can't. And they are not invincible, but basically invincible.
Yeah, they can survive in space.
Yeah, they can survive in space for days maybe even months on end, along with along with being able to survive underwater in insane amounts of heat and falling from thousands of miles.
Well, terminal velocity is a thing, so that's the falling one's not. There's a lot of animals there's a lot of creatures who can fall great distance and hit the ground and not get hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weight thing. It's a weight issue. A lot of birds, they can drop out of a tree and get up and fly off because they can't get going that fast. And
right, but they also have wings that kind of slow them down.
A tardigrade is just a bear-shaped itty bitty organism that can go from normal into a freaking slumber state, which is mainly what can survive those insane heights. I believe specifically the outer space one and falling one, because whenever they fall from that high, they just turn into that and they essentially become a brick, except without the weakness.
All right, so let's go back and close out the. So there is a guy that is filing a lawsuit against them, but everything else is sort of status quo as far as Roblox stance on the situation.
Well, because
law enforcement has not gotten directly involved because you wouldn't need a lawsuit if the police were doing it.
This guy, he's not. So Schlep, he's working with someone else to do the work in Roblox because he can't, and. So, but he's still catching predators inside of it now. But this guy, he's really important, and he is the lawyer. So And he's teaming up with specifically Schlepp's legal team. So it's basically one lawyer and a whole team of lawyers working together to fight against a humongous company, along with it being banned in many states, I believe in Europe or Asia. I forgot which one. And as I stated last time, they're being sued by at least 2 states in the United States of America, and places inside of those places where Roblox is just banned. I believe Roblox also is getting sued from. But yeah, Roblox is screwed. Even if they don't lose all of their stocks and freaking and don't go
bankrupt.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say don't disperse, I guess. Even if that doesn't happen, they're going to be mortal. They're going to be wounded forever.
I mean, it's going to be a hard PR thing to come back from, regardless of the outcome of the legal parts. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll say, me and many people aren't. I think me and many people, we don't think that David Pizzuki is necessarily the problem, although he is a big part of it, allowing this to happen, being the head of Roblox. But I think personally, it's the head of the safety department. It's their fault, as they might not be a pedophile, although they definitely are doing some suspicious pedophile type activities inside of Roblox, to say the least, and then higher officials aren't doing anything wrong, aren't doing anything to stop that. And so the problem is the head of safety, they aren't caring about child safety, and then the people above him, i.e. the CEO or David Pizzuki, he is also at fault for not getting onto this at all.
Captain of the ship that goes down with the ship. I agree with that sentiment. I don't disagree with that. Well, all right, dude. Thanks for the update on that.
Yeah.
You wanted to tell everybody about the exciting news you got today?
I'm joining a musical.
Woohoo!
What musical?
My school's one.
Okay. I'm excited for you. That's
very cool.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to touch on real quick? Or is that the totality of your news updates for us?
For Roblox specifically, yeah.
Okay. What else would you like to share in the next couple minutes?
I don't entirely know. That's the thing. Like, I want to say other stuff, but I don't remember what I wanted to say.
Well, you've got all those lines you got to memorize for your musical, so your brain's getting full of more important stuff than...
I don't know if my character sings, actually, which is a good thing for me.
I don't know if that either, but you're still going to have some sort of lines. You're going to say words. And if it's a musical, you're probably going to sing those words, because most musicals don't have a lot of dialogue. They usually sing everything.
I mean, yeah. Take Alexander Hamilton.
Hamilton.
An American
Copyright.
musical. Do you think you'd actually be copyrighted, though?
I don't know.
Fair point. But, yeah. Like, all of everything in that is just the music. There's no speaking lines. Unlike most, where I believe there's at least some in between.
I disagree.
Songs.
By definition, a musical is almost all sung. Almost all musicals are almost all singing.
Okay.
And then, okay, well, cool, man. Thanks for getting us caught up on that, and we'll check back on this in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Keep digging in and keep us informed.
I'll try.
All right, thanks for John stopping in, checking in, telling us what's up with the Roblox saga.
What up with that?
So, local news, the Chilhowee Park debacle continues, and the city keeps putting it off.
Saw that.
I can't. I don't know.
I mean, at least they're doing some due diligence and giving the community more of an opportunity.
The community's dumb, though. Come on, we know this. Because here's the, like, what do they like? What would they like to have there? Okay, what they would like to have there is a normal park. Well, the city doesn't have budget to build them a normal park. That's just the way it is. And so it's either so part one is that as of right now, it's either it's as is, which is an inaccessible place that is, it's not an open to the public area currently. It's either as is or Emerald takes it over. That's the option on the table currently.
Right.
Yes, if they deny the Emerald option, then there can be further discussion on what it could be, which it seems to, by the public input that is happening, they want it to be a normal park. And it's like, okay, well, go fundraise.
So I was about to say, what if another corporate sponsor stepped in and was like, we'll sponsor a park? Would it have to go through another process?
I mean, they still, the city would still have to vote on it. Like anytime significant, I think it's any 5-figure number of money comes into the city for any purpose, it has to be approved by the council with a majority vote. So I mean, there's a bunch of private donors that did the Lakeshore Park. Because that's the reoccurring theme in conversation. It's like, we'd like to have something like Lakeshore. It's like, okay, we'll go get the Haslam family and the multimillionaires that live real close to there to donate a bunch of money, and we'll build you a Lakeshore Park. Now, as much as Kincannon's already in hot water about this, she's too chicken shit to say that out loud, even though that's the truth. And it goes back to what, like, when I jokingly said something to Lauren Ryder about sell it, just sell it. And then she made a joke about, well, how would you feel if I did that with Rocky Hill? The more I think about it, like, yes, you guys don't have the money or desire to keep Rocky Hill clean, to get a continuous activity going on in there that helps keep it clean long term. So yeah, give it over to a private company that's going to do stuff with it, and then it'll be clean. I'm okay. Like I feel like that's it doesn't make any sense theoretically for Emerald to use that location because of where it is, but at the same time, it's like, if that gets something going on there that moves the new residents that live in Rocky Hill Ball Fields out, and that there's activity that's going on a semi-regular basis, so that there's flow, and then I mean, not for me as a homeowner here, but for my friends and neighbors that own the businesses right here at the North Shore Morel intersection, that'll get a little extra business when they've got different activities going on, and that kind of stuff. It's good. It's good for the neighborhoods,
right?
Both the business and the residents. It would be at this point, I couldn't find a good argument against it other than I want my park to be my park and I get to use it how I want to use it. Screw some other guy. I just don't it's just that's not in the cards for this conversation. I don't see, and especially it'd be an interesting question to ask at one of these public meetings. It's like, okay, you guys all voting for the tax increase? Because if you're voting for the tax increase, we can allocate some of the funds from the tax increase to building at least a somewhat standard park in this location.
Yeah, not a bad argument.
I mean, you could at least it would give some. It would at least be a political move by Kincannon to try to bring two different issues that she's getting a lot of heat for into one singular issue that might get something accomplished. Because the administration wants the Emerald thing. They built this deal, and they want to get it done. And the weird one to me is Gwen McKenzie, who was on the council side was the leader of this push, is now the leader of pulling it back. And it's like, why'd you swing at this if you weren't confident in it in the first place?
She was originally on board with it.
I mean, she's the one. She was the one that. I mean, the administration gave it to her. Don't get me wrong. She didn't write the ordinance or whatever the thing that they had to vote on when it popped up on the agenda. But she, the mayor, I think, on functionality's sake, just in the logistics of the thing, the mayor cannot introduce things to the council. The council has to introduce them. It's very often that the mayor hands a councilor a thing to introduce on the administration's behalf. Similar to the president. The president doesn't get to write a bill and give it to Congress.
Right.
But the president can write a bill and give it to some senator that he likes and some House rep that he likes and say, hey, go get this passed for me.
Right.
And so that's as I understand it, that's more or less the format of how the city government works too. And so Kincannon went to McKenzie and said, hey, let's get this thing done. And McKenzie was like, yes. And then as soon as she put it on the agenda, the fucking floor fell out from everything. And now Gwen's the one that's backpedaling the hardest. Now, rumor is that Gwen wants to replace Kincannon 2 years from now. And so, for politicking reasons, I guess it does make sense that she's trying to save face in this game. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know how you save face in this.
As far as you know, nothing changed from like the original proposal to what's being...
I mean, it's not. It's just been delayed. They've taken it off the agenda. I think the only conversation was, are we going to take it off for 2 weeks or 4 weeks? That was not this past week. The week before last is when they voted on delaying it. And it was a 7-2 vote. The 2 votes against were Seema and Amelia, who wanted to vote to just kill it and be done with it, not delay it. But the vote was on delay, and it's like, no, let's not delay this. Let's vote on it now. It's going to lose, and then we don't have to talk about this anymore. Or we can actually start talking about what we really want to do here. But at least it kills it would have killed what was currently happening.
I guess the Muse was already slated to move.
That one passed the first time. That one stayed on the agenda and passed the first.
I thought this was all part of that.
No, they're two separate. There were two separate items. And again, on a how badly can the administration screw up the presentation of this thing? Let's drop it and get it all hot and bothered right like 2 weeks before the fair's here. Which is really which seems to be the number one thing that everybody really wants to save. They don't care. Like it doesn't. It feels to me like, yes, there's people would like it to be a regular park over there. Don't get me wrong, but I think the biggest number one keeps coming back to, what's this do to the fair? Is this going to keep the fair out? And the city's like, we don't care if the fair stays or not. This doesn't necessarily kick the fair out, but it doesn't help their cause, and we're tired of giving them this property for use for 2 weeks a year. But as long as they keep doing their thing, we're going to keep letting them, but they're going to do it on our terms. We're not going to hold this big chunk of land just so the fair can be perfect for the fair.
Fair enough.
Well played. Which apparently, the fair is 107 years or something like that. It's 107
about that. They've been there a while.
Which again, if you go back in time, it's like, yeah, the Cherry Street exit was far out of town in Knoxville back in the day, 100 years ago. That was way out there. In 1925. I wonder how many cars Knoxville had in 1925. The trolley was downtown.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was not something people whom lived downtown didn't commute out to Cherry Street. They lived downtown, worked downtown. You didn't have a lot of people driving cars like we do today, where, and so the fair was a big deal because it was a huge thing on the outskirts of a major city, considering, or whatever you want to call it. And then, so, I don't know. Anyway, I just think, I don't understand the argument. It's part of my problem. What are we doing? I acknowledge that you have a want for what you want to see there as a nearby resident. I'm not a city resident. I should shut my mouth, whatever. I acknowledge that you have thoughts and feelings about what you want to do with public land, and your thoughts and feelings are important. But your thoughts and feelings don't make reality of what is possible. And from what I see out of the city administration over Kincannon's entire thing, Parks and Rec spending is not higher on their priority list, especially the major investment parts of Park and Recs. They spend money in Parks and Recs, and it's all about upkeep and staffing and all those kind of things, repairs, mowing the lawns, keeping the grass done, the staffing that has to do the coordination with the groups that use the facilities, the staffing that goes out there and cleans up the areas and stuff like that. But outside of that, the city does not want to put that they don't want that to be a budget item. They don't want $1 million in construction on a park. I say that after $120-something million on a baseball field, but but again, that's part of the issue here too. And you could go back and make the argument, well, if we didn't approve this stupid baseball stadium, we'd have funding to do this. Yes, agreed. But you can't unring that bell. But B, it's well, okay, then we should never do anything. If not for this, then that. Well, then if not for this new thing, then we'll never get that next thing that pops up on the radar.
Should start our own rainy day fund.
I'm just saying,
Park fund.
You can always make that argument though about anything. It's like if we didn't spend the money on the baseball stadium, we could have spent money on this. We could have right. If we didn't spend money on the baseball stadium, we could have spent it on the Gay Street Bridge.
Right.
Now there is the argument, and there are a lot of questions still. I still haven't heard the answer of how we went from good enough to no driving period right now, and this bridge will never have another car go over it ever again. I'm real confused about the state inspector change that went from good enough to nope. I haven't seen any articles or anything on anybody going down that rabbit hole because something feels wonky to me. We talked about it at the time.
If we can't do cars, like how many people, is there a person limit on it now?
I don't know. And like cars and bikes, but then they're talking about they one of the things talked about was like, well, maybe we could at least we could do no cars or trucks, but we could do some of the smaller buses and trolleys to help people get access from like down there on Sevier Avenue and stuff like that, and get the bus route that was using it back up.
Why would they not allow cars, but a bus that's bigger than a car?
Man, I don't. Logic is not part of the conversation, I guess here.
No, okay.
But I'm saying like that's not. I agree with you, but my point being is, how did we go from literally this bridge is fine to not another single car starting this moment exactly right now? And then getting a team out there to actually go and do an estimate on what it would take to get it walkable, not drivable, but walkable again. And that's a multi-million-dollar project.
I saw there was a story they're nearing completion, or they've got most of the quote-unquote repairs done. Yeah,
and so, anyway, that's another foible that Kincannon's legacy gets to carry on, which may or may not be the administration's fault. Because, I don't know if I'm Kincannon and I'm sitting here and the state infrastructure inspector comes by and he's like, yeah, everything looks good. See you later. Everything looks good. See you later for years in a row. And then all of a sudden the next one comes by and like, that bridge is done now, period, for the rest of the time. My first question would be like, how? Did it deteriorate that much in 1 year? I agree. If you don't think it's safe to put cars on, I'm not going to put cars on it. I'm not trying to argue to let me do what I shouldn't be able to do, but how did it get this bad this fast? Because I don't think it did. I think it was worse than we knew for years leading up to this. Because if I remember correctly, the one of the things in the reporting was that the inspector who does a lot of the stuff around here retired, and this is the first year that this new inspector came in. And I don't know, maybe the old guy felt like he knew the bridge. Like, I know this bridge. I've inspected this bridge for 20 years. That big gap in the steel is not a big deal. I've seen this bridge under pressure. It knows how to handle it. Where the new guy's like, my manual says any gap between these braces is a no-go. Right. And I counted 64 or something crazy. So anyway, that was not the point. I'm just saying, like if that's gonna be a mentality in your civics argument of, well, if we didn't do that thing a couple years ago, we could spend that money here. You just can't. It's a dumb argument, because you can always say that about anything. If we didn't build that stupid space tree thing in...
Well, did we have money for the stadium, or did we just somehow find the money for it, or just were able to work it into the budget? Maybe that's part of it. It was like, did the city really have that much excess funds to now fund the stadium?
They invented ways to make funding available. And they could invent ways to make funding available, I suppose, for this park project.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's got to, I would assume there's a line in there somewhere.
It's not like we had $125 million sitting around. It's like, oh, okay, well,
but the other part
now
too,
somebody wants to build a stadium. Well, yeah, we can float that for now.
We can argue about the efficacy and whatnot of whether or not the investment in the stadium has turned turned the economic life of the old city and the nearby areas around, and it's going to pay for itself over time with new economy. Like, I know that's part of the argument, and I know you don't necessarily agree with that, and you've cited some research that says as much. But that's the other thing about, again, this goes back to that weird gentrification thing too. It's like, but like a standard park with maybe a couple soccer fields and a nice bathroom little zone thingy and a couple of picnic spots and stuff like that is not, for the multi-million dollars it's going to cost to get that park up to that space, it's very unlikely that that's going to have a significant direct economic impact to the nearby community. Like, I don't think having a nice park right there is going to get more people going to the Pizza Palace that's 150 yards down the street.
That's possible.
Not enough.
I only went there once. I mean, it's a small parking lot. I'd much rather sit in a park and eat a pizza versus in the little...
It is a crazy, like, it is an
like
interesting
drive-in style
building.
Kinda.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, like it might do a little bit more business, but enough more business that at the 2.25% local sales tax that it's kicking into the system and the property tax that it's kicking into the system is going to offset the payments it's going to cost for the loan we take out to do the project.
I mean, you could say that about a lot of parks of how much. I mean, there's not many businesses around Victor Ashe. I wouldn't say that,
I agree.
All the money put into that was increased tax revenue of that surrounding area. So, I mean, I'm sorry, that's not a really valid argument.
Oh, it is a very valid argument. Well,
solely using that as an argument that...
Okay, but it's like, how was Victor Ashe financed?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure it had a lot of private money into it. I don't know. I don't think the city put a lot of money into it. And that's why the city doesn't want to put a lot of direct money into projects like this, because it doesn't have a return.
I mean, you don't have to mind. I mean, I think some of the quotes, people said they would want to have their Victor Ashe or Lakeshore, their kind of version of that. But, I mean, you don't have to put in soccer fields. I know many small parks that are just like a, gravel kind of like pathway around it and just kind of an open field, some trees. Doesn't have to be, a sports complex.
It costs $1 million for a mile of sidewalk. How much do you think for a mile gravel walking path the city would pay to get that done?
Probably cheaper than making it concrete.
I agree. It'd be under $1 million, but I bet you it's still somehow six figures.
Make like a nice, AstroTurf or something. I don't know.
I'm just like, I mean, with the way, like, if that's real, that it costs $1 billion to do a mile of sidewalk, then I would say that just to do, I think it's 19 acres, give or take, just to do, I mean, not even to put like AstroTurf down, just to do grass fields, but to do the groundwork and leveling and all that kind of stuff. I bet you it's a multi-million-dollar project, more than one, less than 10, just to put some fields in and a bathroom and a couple of whatever you call them,
pavilions. I was about to say there's a small kind of little parkish area.
I thought there's already a parking lot there, so they don't have to build that. So I don't know. I don't know.
I empathize with the desire to have a decent park in your neighborhood.
Let me qualify a little bit, is that I have no, even with my libertarian values thing and in the way I see government working, I don't necessarily have an issue with the government, with a local government spending money on a park or something like that has no direct return, quote unquote, in economics. I could get on board with that as a thing that a locality can and should do responsibly. I suppose I want to put that caveat on it. They shouldn't just build parks everywhere because that's what everybody wants. But they, inversely though, like I think naturally the thought process is still going to be, well, this is going to increase property values. Property values increases our tax base. Tax base goes up. We have more money to spend on these things. That's the gentrification part of the argument, which it seems to me that the argument and the anti-gentrification argument is we don't want to increase property values. That's bad for us because that gets us priced out of our own homes. And it's like, well, those two, how do you square that circle? We want a nice park.
Also, when it gets to having like home values like double, is when it really starts to hurt.
Well, because you put this nice park in, and you have these other amenities nearby, and people want to live there. And when people want to live there, demand drives the prices up. And so like that's how it works. That is definitionally what gentrification is. But it's gentrification. Like definitionally is white people come in and all the black people get pushed out. Because the black people
different levels of it. It's one thing of just kind of properties kind of getting bought up, but it's when you kind of have those properties, but then you have that kind of like added. We'll put in all these like new bistros and throw Starbucks in, and
I mean, I don't know, because again, I don't get it as a thing. I don't understand.
I'm saying, like, I think when you get to that case, that's when you start seeing, home value, 2.5 times what they were, which starts pricing people out that have been living there, as far as just keeping up with the yearly property tax, etc.
I don't know. That's tough because that's what they're doing on Magnolia right now anyway with their business development incubator corridor thingy or whatever they call it. Because that's you do that tax incentive thing to get developers to come in and build stuff, and developers are going to come in and build stuff for the future demand they see or they want to create, and so you're putting that in the developer's hands. So short of just saying it's market value, you buy the property and build what you want on it that's within our zoning. There's no incentive for you to do it other than it may be a cheaper building because of the current status of the neighborhood or something like that. But at the same time, it's like if I'm a developer, it's like, why would I take the risk of building what I want to build in this particular neighborhood? Because the building and property that I'm buying is cheap for a reason. And so it's like if you want to incentivize investment in a neighborhood, you're by default going to invite some level of gentrification. Because whether it's a bistro or a regular restaurant or whatever it is that shows up on the new corner development that they put up, new apartment complexes, new houses that are coming in, the new houses are going to be more expensive than what's already there because they're new. But by comparables, that's going to force the other housing prices up too. Just because it's like, well, that's a 2-bedroom, 2,100 square foot house for $400,000. I have a 2-bedroom, 1,900 square foot house, 2 doors down, that's 40 years old. Well, it was like $30,000 when I bought it back in the 80s or whatever, but now it's $300,000. It's not as much as the brand new version of the same house, but it's way more than it's worth way more because it's like, well, these things it becomes a comparable.
Yeah.
And that's what the assessor goes out and does, and that's where that house, even though whether you sell it or not, that house now gets reassessed from the $30,000 you bought it from to this new $350,000 mark, and your property tax goes up 6-fold or whatever the math is.
Yeah.
12-fold, I think 11.5 would be the exact math.
That's quick mental math.
Yeah, I should have started with the correct answer instead of the wrong one, and it wouldn't have been as impressive. So. Anyway, the Chilhowee Park thing continues. So the Smokies have ended their official first full season. Both the Smokies and the One Knoxville have completed their first seasons in this new multi-use building. The first official concert has been booked. Did you see it?
No.
See the announcement on it?
Mm-mm.
I mean... It's exactly what I would do if I was their booking agent. It is a Kansas is coming to play some fall evening show here in late October, I think is when it is. It's exactly what I would do if I was booking it. I'm super targeting the 50 to 65 demographic. And that's exactly what they did. Because Kansas is probably not particularly expensive, but they're still a big enough name that old folks will come out and see them. In a large format where they could sit in comfy stadium chairs instead of having to stand in a general admission.
I'd say it's almost the level of people that come to the Tennessee Valley Fair.
Yeah. No, it's a generation older than what comes to the fair. It's like LL Cool J. Who's the headliner this year?
I have no idea. I remember like REO Speedwagon and kind of some of those kind of stadium rock bands of like the 70s and 80s.
Kid Rock did it a couple years ago before he went full MAGA, but...
Did he really?
I think so. Huh. Tennessee Valley Fair, September 5 through 14. So this is the last weekend. George Michael Reborn. So it's a cover...
So I was about to say, is that really?
No, he's dead.
That's right.
Lit and Fuel on Tuesday, September 9th. Flo Rida was last night. Styx is tonight. You're right. There you go. And Jesse Murph, whoever that is. I don't like... So a George Michael tribute band, Baker Blankenship, Old 60, Lit and Fuel, Flo Rida, Styx, and Jesse Murph were their nightly headliners. You could go see. They're on the last couple songs Styx is right now because they have to. anything outside in Knoxville has to be done by 10 o'clock noise ordinance.
Yeah.
And I believe they finished. They're probably already done because I'm pretty sure every night or every weekend night at the fair ends with fireworks. So they're probably doing the fireworks right now as we speak at 9:30 on Friday night. But for $76.70 a ticket, you could go to see Styx and access to the fair in general.
Jesse Murph
tomorrow night. Only general admission seats remaining are $88.50. I don't know who that person is, and I would not spend $80 on them.
I'm going to guess a country star.
That picture looks more like a brat pop star to me, but I can dig it. So fair only is $12 for an adult. Fair plus concert. Oh, well, just to get into the fair is $12, and then a unlimited ride wristband is $35 for the weekend, $15 for parking. The Homer Hamilton Amphitheater. I've never been in that place. I don't even know where that is.
Can't think where I've seen it.
I mean, that's where they do the concerts. I mean,
standing room only.
I'll tell you what, I would like a nice amphitheater in Knoxville somewhere down by the river, maybe instead of the city county building. That'd be cool. Oh,
just so game day's here. Building, don't you?
I do. I want it gone. I hate. I love hate. I have a love hate with that building. I hate that building does what it does. I don't find it a particularly attractive building in and of itself, but it's interesting looking at least. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. It's not a fucking square, and I like that. It's not some colonial, Capitol building knockoff like Madison, Wisconsin, the capital of Wisconsin, is it's like a 4/5 scale DC. Their Capitol building is a smaller version of the U.S. Capitol.
Huh, okay.
And that's lame. Have some pride in yourself. Be unique. Make your own thing. And so I respect that for the city county building. I just hate that that's what we do there. It's such a cool. It's such a specifically awesome piece of property that to have city function in there is just such a waste of that space. And so that stupid Hilton over there next to the Civic's the same thing to me. It blows my mind that there's not something cool there. Again, I don't particularly find that building attractive.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's not just a square box in the sky. It's got some pizzazz to it. It's just it boggles my mind.
Room's got a balcony.
It boggles my mind that nothing has gone and stayed in there since the Hilton left in the 90s or whatever. But so game day's in town. College game day for tomorrow. They're here. They floated a barge up from somewhere in Loudoun County or something like that. And so, have you watched you're not a huge football guy. I know that, so you probably don't watch game day regularly. I don't watch game day regularly anymore because I don't have ESPN. But I'll see clips here and there. And so one of the things they've started doing, one of the things they've done for a while in game day is they'll set up a 10, 15 yard wide, 25 yard long section of field where the analysts will go out and be like, this guy does this pattern and does this thing, and they'll kind of mock up some plays and stuff like that on it. There's I think it's State Farm or something sponsors this field goal kicking thing where they'll grab a student out of the crowd, and if they can hit the field goal, it's like $100,000 scholarship or something like that.
Nice.
Or it's $100,000 cash. I don't know what it is, but anyway, they do stuff like that. So game day floated a barge up, which is that field. So that field is going to be floating in the river. So it from sources unknown, it looks like game day is going to be at the waterfront landing or whatever it is right there.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're doing the setup for the event, and that they have a floating field section that they're going to be doing parts of the shows on, like this field goal kick and other things.
I'd say I guess they can't really or don't want to compete because Red Bull's doing their slicked up log climb.
Is that that's this weekend too?
Yeah.
Where's that?
I'm assuming closer to the stadium, but couldn't tell you. Somewhere on the river. I assume.
I want to go.
I think they typically do it over water.
I feel like I want to go. I want to go to a game day in some other city, because when you see game day's been here a couple times, it makes Knoxville look impressive. And then you go down there on a normal day, and it's that's not that impressive. Look at all this cool stuff Knoxville has. It's well, at least where game day's setting up this year, the riverfront is not that cool.
Yeah, it's just like an under. It's like under an overpass.
Yeah. Yeah, under 2 overpasses, one that doesn't even actually have a functional overpass because it's the Gay Street Bridge. But like it's just a road and a rail line, and then you've got that. Like all we really have down there is that Buddy's.
Is it where the boat launch is? I might be thinking of a different spot.
This is the one that's right there next to Buddy's. So like when you come, like it's right in front of the. What did I say, Buddy's?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Calhoun's down there in the river.
Okay, that's.
And there's that little like that pavilion with the tower. It's like a 3-story lookout.
Yeah.
Thing that's right there, like that little the volunteer landing. That's what it's called.
Okay, yeah.
So tomorrow when they're doing the show, it's going to be Vol Navy's all hooked up to the pier off of Buddy's or Calhoun's. I did it again. So Calhoun's going to have all the boats roped up to it, and this barge is going to be sitting there next to all the boats. And so the crowd around the field is going to be in their boats, not standing around in the field. Last time College Game Day was here, they did it on the top of the hill, which is a great spot for it, too, because they had airs in the background. It was a really good one.
Yep.
And there is some open space up there for them to do what they needed to do. Anyway, like, I see us on College Game Day. I'm like, man, Knoxville's cool. It's like, not really. I've been around. I've seen these places. And maybe it's
that's probably part of it.
Right. And so I feel like I need to take the opportunity to go to another city when they host it and check it out. Because they always look cool on TV, too. But I bet you Athens isn't that awesome if you go. It wouldn't when you go to Georgia proper. It's probably a beautiful campus. Don't get me wrong, but like as a city and all the different stuff, it's just not. It's probably a little bit. It's well produced to look cooler than it actually is.
I don't know how many people. I know it's relatively small. It's not a big city.
Yeah, Athens is like 100 and something thousand when the students are in, and like 30 something of them are students.
Yeah,
it's something like that. It's not a big town. I'm just saying, like any of them, it doesn't matter. Like Madison, like I've been to Madison a couple times. Madison's not a particularly impressive, but Madison's fun. Like Madison's a good comparison to Knoxville in the sense that it's not a huge city, but it's not a small city either. But like Madison literally is the seat of state government and the university. There's nothing else in that town. Like everybody works everybody either works directly for the state government of Wisconsin, or the University of Wisconsin, which is technically the state government of Wisconsin,
right,
or in some periphery that serves it. Like there's no business that happens there that isn't directly related to that. Which is Knoxville. That's where my argument is. Knoxville is past that point because we do a lot more in Knoxville than some stupid thing. And I meant to look into it, and I haven't heard any complaints. At least last weekend was the only weekend to test the theory. We did have a home game on Saturday in both football and baseball. And I heard no complaints.
For parking?
Yeah. But I don't know what actual attendance was. They did release their attendance announcements and tax revenue numbers for the baseball. That's where we started this whole conversation and then got on to College Game Day. Their average was $4,600 per game just for Smokies baseball. The high was... this past Sunday, the last home game. No, the last home game was Wednesday. Right. Ended on a high note as the field stands at a season high of 6,735. That's the biggest. The last game of the year was the biggest game of the year that they held there.
So the Knoxville 1 season's already over?
Yeah.
Well, damn.
So they averaged 46.17 per game. Over comparison for last year in Kodak, they did 44.11. That's not particularly 206 more people per game is the average. And you went from the middle of nowhere to downtown. That's kind of disappointing. Am I crazy?
Say it again.
So last year, when they were still in Kodak, their average attendance per game was 44.11.
Oh, okay.
Their average this year was 46.17. So 206 more people on average came to Smokies games this year than last year.
That's the inaugural season, a new park, which kind of helps bump it up a little.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's not impressive to me.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like, you're right. New home, new stadium, new location.
In the big city, not off.
In the city, not way out in the middle of nowhere, and you only managed to pull 200 more people a game. Like, you could have dragged the bum population in from the immediate vicinity and got up to 5,000 per game.
What's capacity supposed to be?
I think it's like 7,500.
Okay.
Fan Appreciation Day on September 7th. This is via Compass and Scott Barker and the great people at Compass. This is behind the paywall, so you're getting a little insight here. Scott, don't sue me. So the Knoxville Giants honorary game, 64-85. Broke attendance records and exceeded all financial expectations, says Randy Boyd. One Knoxville set the USL League One record. I do remember that. That was a big deal. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
For a USL League One record of 6,378 fans in a single home game in their opener at the park. So the soccer team best attendance was only a couple hundred less than the baseball team's best attendance, who was built for. Over the 12 matches, the team averaged 3,400, so they're about 1,000 less people per game on average. Do all those britches in the bleachers. Scott, you're so beautiful. I love the way you write. Of course, but they also added tax revenues to the city and county that will help pay for the debt service on the $114 million stadium as part of the financing. From the Sports Authority, issued $65 million in bonds, a debt service payment annually of $4.458 million in the first year. There's more numbers in here somewhere. According to the City of Knoxville estimates, the stadium has generated $1 million in sales taxes so far, according to Chris Caldwell, the Chief Financial Officer at the City of Knoxville. Caldwell said that total should eventually come to around $1.1 million, not including any soccer playoff matches that might be hosted or concerts, including Kansas. October 8th is the date on that, everybody, as mentioned before. Property tax revenues, on their hand, are down because they didn't finish that one multi-use condo complex. They haven't even really started on it yet. All of the tenants in the base level of the one that is open, all of the bars, restaurants, and businesses on the ground floor have not opened yet. So they have not started generating that property tax revenue, and that's the pilot program property tax revenue. So any of that property tax revenue that would go into the general fund goes immediately to paying this off. It was named the best new ballpark of the year out of like the 6 new baseball stadiums that were built around the country, according to baseballparks.com. Joe Mock, who has visited 349 different ballparks since 1998, runs this website. He visited the Smokies Park in Stadium and now Covenant Health Park, both during the construction and taking the game. He was impressed. Whatever. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, of course they're gonna feel like it's successful because they need to feel like they need to present it as being a successful adventure, just to stave off the complaints for a little longer. The people that hate it and are always going to hate it. They're not going to change those people's mind. But the middle of the road people, the fence people, who are just kind of like, this is when they start coming into picking a side. Like, okay, we gave you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I'm not impressed, really. Like, those numbers are not impressive to me. I mean, $1 million in tax revenue. I'm assuming they mean local tax revenue. Because if it's $1 million in sales tax revenue, we only get like 30% of that.
I wonder how they're calculating it, though.
I'd be curious
if they draw like a half-mile circle around it or whatever.
I'd be curious exactly what they're including in that. I mean, I'd be curious what I would like. I mean, and I think it's a fair question. I don't know what the rules are on this. I would like to know what I'd like to see. I'd like to take a peek at Randy Boyd's books. I mean, I'm sure it's not cheap to operate a baseball team. I'm not trying to pretend like that's the case. I don't know how that shit works anyway, because the Cubs pay some of it. Like, the Cubs are part of the...
an affiliate.
I think maybe I don't know. It'd be a good, interesting question. Does Randy Boyd pay the Cubs to be an affiliate of theirs, or do they pay him? I'm pretty sure they pay some of the players' salaries, at least a portion of them, or something, because they're technically employees of the Cubs organization.
Kind of floating some funds for like training, etc.
I'm not sure.
That's keeping them in shape to possibly get called up.
Part of their process in designing the stadium is they had to take it to Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball had an approval, because there's certain standard measurements, how far the bases are. That's a fixed number. That doesn't change anything. Right. The wall can be a little bit wonky. That's not a fixed number. But training facilities, workout rooms, medical facilities, practice space that's part of the stadium. So like the bullpen for pitching practice, like the weight room and where the trainers go and work you out when you tweak a muscle or whatever. Like all those facilities have to be approved, like with equipment and staffing and all that stuff by Major League Baseball before they'll let you.
Gotta have the ice bath.
Yeah, you gotta have a sauna, ice bath, cold, chill, heat, whatever it is. All the different bells and whistles of the latest and greatest in sports medicine technology, whatever Major League Baseball requires, they have that there. And that was part of the cost of building it. Whether we took that cost on as a community or Randy Boyd personally took that cost on as the employer, or whether the Cubs took a portion of that cost on as the parent organization, I don't know. It's complicated. It's complicated financial system is the moral of the story here.
Yeah.
But I'd really be curious to see, I don't know what an average ticket is. I don't know what tickets went for, $30?
I think that's when I was looking at some of like the soccer games. I think it started like 20 or 30.
I mean, so let's say for baseball, well, let's say for soccer, because we know there were 12 home games, $20 a ticket, averaging 3,500. That's $70,000. Yeah, it'd be $70,000 in tickets sold for 12 games. So times 12, that's $840,000 in revenue from ticket sales only for the 12 home games in baseball. Fuck you, Randy Boyd. This $1 million reasonable rent is bullshit. Your subcontractor paid $750,000, or your ticket sales from your subcontractor, not your main business, your side hustle, brought you $750,000 in revenues.
That's not to mention concessions.
Right, and that's where the real money's at, because they charge $20 a beer.
Damn.
Give or take. It's not
right.
Perfect. I don't know exactly what it is.
Probably not far off.
Yeah. We got hosed. All right. I gave it the benefit of the doubt. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. Scott, do the math. Somebody help me out. Because they played way more baseball games than that. They averaged more people. The tickets were more expensive for baseball games. So I would say baseball operations brought in 2 or 3 times that. And again, like you said, but this is not counting anything else. Just tickets. I'm ballparking $2.3 million in ticket sales.
Yeah, but they've also got to pay, Aramark or whatever to come staff all that shit
Aramark
too.
Aramark pays with their sales.
I do that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a contract deal. That's you sell the stuff, and I don't know.
You get your cut of it or something.
It's a chicken or the egg. It's probably something like we'll pay you X number of dollars per event, and 10%. But you're going to factor that into the pricing of the product and stuff like that. That's all given. That's easy. I'm certain that I don't know, it's $2.5-3 million in ticket revenue. I would probably guesstimate that at least that much was spent in concessions and merch and clubhouse stuff. Because again, we're on a $20 or $30 average ticket for all these games, and I don't know how many baseball games they played there, but 12 soccer games at least. I think it'd probably at least twice that many baseball games. Yeah. I don't know if they don't do the 100 million game season as the pros do, but they still do like 80 games a year, which means 40 home games, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing like 5 games a week since April, May, June, July, August. 1 week of September, so 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 weeks, at least 3-4 games a week total, home and away. Because there's usually they do two weekday games and then 3 weekends. They do like Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Seem to be their pretty standard schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it would be home, and then away, home, and then home, away, or whatever, but some combination thereof. So I'm going to guess 20 home games in baseball. Was that right? What did I just say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It's 24 weeks. 5 games a week that's 100 and something games. So maybe 50 home games. Now I got to find that. I'm going to have to look that up.
Sounds like a long season.
That's a lot. I mean, they started in mid-April, and they finished in the first week of September. So that's 3 weeks on our partial months.
I don't know if they're playing 5 times a week, though.
I'm pretty sure when I was looking at their schedule, it was usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they'd have a travel day, or sometimes it was a home back-to-back, or an away back-to-back. But it seemed to be it looked like it was about 5 games a week, maybe less. But that's still May, June, July, August, 4, 8, 16, 20, 22, 23 weeks. Go down one, average 4 games a week. That's 80, 90 games right there.
They'll do an all-star break.
They might. I don't remember. So, yeah, I think in ticket sales, they did at least $3 million. Probably another $3 million in merch and concessions and parking and all the other auxiliary stuff.
That's right, because part of your ticket was you buying a parking pass, too, wasn't it?
You could do it as an add-on or whatever. I don't know. $1 million might be fair. I mean, if they did $6-7 million in revenue, total revenue, $1 million in rent would be like in the 10 to 20, somewhere in the 10 to 20% range is your rent. I'm sure the utilities there are a motherfucker.
Not if they used LED.
Well, I mean, I think they're sponsored by KUB anyway, and it's probably the deal with KUB sponsorship is they get a bunch of advertising and don't pay for, and in return, Smokies don't pay full price for the Powerball.
Shit, I'll put up
which means we do. We pay it for them.
Yeah, they just defer off the cost.
I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting. Like going down the rabbit hole.
Are power bills subsidizing?
What do you think? What would you guess Neyland Stadium's utility bill is?
That's got to be a lot.
I mean, they don't have that much. If you get down to it, the big stadium lights themselves, they got some high power output, but they're these new LED ones that are pretty good and stuff like that.
They've got that big digital scoreboard.
But digital scoreboard probably sucks a little bit of juice. But you get
all those refrigerators in there.
That's true. The locker rooms have 75 different super high def big TV screens and ice baths and saunas and all that kind of crap. I'd be curious. That'd be an interesting little rabbit hole to dive down. Is just single game finances of a UT game.
Yeah.
Now you get to spread that out over the year, but you don't also get to get the income over the year because it only makes money 6-7 weekends a year. Because the last time we had a concert, it got canceled for COVID. We haven't had one since, or we've had one post-COVID show at Neyland.
A lot of that for years they didn't allow anybody to play on the field because I guess they were worried about it getting fucked up.
I think that's a narrative. That's a lie. I think that's a lie. I think promoters didn't want to play Neyland because until recently you couldn't have booze.
That's part of it.
I'm not going to get
enough for Michael Jackson and Kenny Chesney.
I mean, I'm saying there are enough people that weren't going to see Garth Brooks at Neyland Stadium. He played he did a mini residency at Thompson. He had scheduled one, and tickets sold so fast he added another, and they sold so fast he added another, and did three nights in a row.
That was when he played Neyland.
No, at Thompson, he never played Neyland. I do not believe he's ever played Neyland. I shouldn't say that.
Pretty sure he did. I think that was where he had to add a third show.
No, that was when he played at Thompson. Yeah.
So I was about to say, I think he played before Neyland got beer. I want to say I looked it up before because I think we were having this conversation.
Yeah, Garth Brooks record-breaking show in 2019.
Yeah.
First concert in Neyland.
I think he played there before they had beer.
It breaks a record for something. But that was not the one you were referencing, though. He did not do multiple nights. When he did multiple nights is when he came to Thompson.
Now, if he broke records, I think he may have.
84,000 fans.
Just one date.
Brooks performed his hit songs and included a ball encore with Rocky Top. And shared the stage with John Party. Imagine being the opener for that show. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was when he was having to add extra dates, but I could be completely wrong.
Garth Brooks played Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville, performing four shows there with Trisha Yearwood. Isn't that his wife? Didn't they get married?
I think so. Is that really back 10 years ago?
2015, on May 28th through 31st, as part of his world tour. The concert set a new record for ticket sales in Knoxville at the time. Garthy baby. Yeah, that was pre-alcohol on campus.
Remember more recent.
Yeah, I thought it was the other way. If I was in my head, if he did play Nayland, it was going to be before that one, not after.
Uh-huh.
You know, like Radiohead did that thing where after, what was it, starting with Kid A, they only played inside. They stopped playing outdoor shows.
Really?
Except for Bonnaroo. Like every time we went and saw him outside until it was the Kid A tour. That's when we saw him at the Phillips. They stopped playing amphitheaters. They started doing indoor shows. I'm pretty sure, as you was telling me about it, it's like they wanted to do a tour in arenas instead of amphitheaters because with this album, they like the sound better inside. They like to be able to control the sound better inside. I'm pretty sure you were the one that told me that. You've always had the better memory than me, man. I'm really disappointed, and I really don't. I'm really. It
might have been right after I read an article about it, and I've pushed it out of my mind since.
And I'm really disappointed because I really feel like you were the one that owned that album that I sent you the song from.
No.
It's a great album. The Benditos by the Refreshments. Great song. Like that was their one hit. There's like one other song on that album that's fun.
There was like one line that sounded vaguely familiar, but the rest of the song, I'm like, I don't know this song.
Great song. Great album.
Oh,
I'll bet you Ryan Dillingham. Maybe it's Ryan Dillingham. Maybe I'm conflating you and Ryan Dillingham. It was somebody over there off of Wallace. Maybe that's what my connection in my head was.
Possibly.
The good guys and the bad guys, well, they don't work past noon around here. They sit side by side in the cantina and talk to senoritas and drink more beer. Candace Parker is
copyright strike.
I know, it's 2 in a row.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought there was a former Lady Vol that got...
Yeah, Candace is going to be the guest picker on game day tomorrow.
What does that role entail? I thought she was some kind of like ambassador for game day or something like that.
No, so the guest picker, so they do all the stuff. They talk about all the different games, blah, blah, blah. But the last segment of the show at 11:30, so the first slate of games kicks off at noon. So at about 11:30, they go through and they pick... I don't know exactly what the criteria is for what games they choose, because they don't choose every game of the day. But at least like the marquee 15 games of the day, the best matchups, whatever, they go through, and it's like a panel. It's like their talking head team of 4 or 5 of them. Lee Corso retired this year, but Lee Corso...
Yeah, now I can picture those little spots where they'll put on like a inflatable helmet of like one of the teams.
And so they go through and they pick all each person on the panel picks who they think is going to win each game. And then, so what they always do is it's the people that are the show, which I think there's 4 or 5 of them, and then they pick one guest picker. And so depending on where they are, like a couple of years back when USC was actually still good at football, they had Will Ferrell come because Will Ferrell went to USC because game day was at...
is that the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Bowl, yeah. So that's because it was like a USC Texas game or something. Like it was one of those. It was the game of the weekend, which is always where game day tries to go. But the guest picker is somebody that has a local tie that's famous that comes in and picks games with everybody. So they pick all the games, including the game of the week. So Candace is going to pick UT tomorrow. I'm picking UT to win tomorrow, to be honest with you. It'll be a mild upset. I mean, ESPN right now on their prediction tracker, they have Tennessee winning. Vegas has Tennessee losing, but it's come down.
Really?
It started at Georgia almost by winning by a touchdown, and it's come down to somewhere around a field goal, a little bit higher than a field goal, 3.5, 4 points.
So I don't know how they did in their last game.
Who's that? Georgia?
Tennessee.
Oh, they dog stomped. They dog stomped ETSU. Not that that's a thing that you should be necessarily proud of. You should dog stomp ETSU.
Yeah.
73-10 or something like that. The fact that they let up 10 points was the shocking part of the day, not the fact that they scored 73.
I remember reading some story that was on, I guess, the games last Saturday that it almost broke some record for point differential by halftime.
Yeah.
In like a number of games.
I mean, that's standard. That's college football standard. Like week 1 and 2, there's a handful. There's always a handful of real matchups. We had Ohio State, Texas week 1 this year. Huge playoff implication game. Great matchup. Other than that, there was not a single game looking around the country that was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Like the best game of the day was Florida State beating Alabama. But that's because Florida State wasn't supposed to, like, Florida State's not even ranked, and Alabama was like 7.
Damn.
And so, like, it was a huge deal because it was such an upset. Now, a couple of years ago, that's not an upset. Florida State's a powerhouse. I mean, Florida State traditionally is a fairly strong football program.
Yeah.
But they've not been great. They've not been very good or relevant for a while. They did have a good year like 2 years ago, and then they've fallen back off. And so they got this new quarterback kid who talks a lot of trash and apparently gets to back it up because, like an interview on Friday before the game with somebody who's like, I don't see me losing to them. And that was like everybody, all the big talking heads are like, man, this guy's like, I love his swagger, but man, it's gonna be a humbling day tomorrow. It's gonna be rough on him when he goes out there and Alabama does what Alabama does, and then they beat him, and it's like, whoa. He got us. He was right on it. We were wrong.
Yeah.
And so, but that's normal college football. Is you get a couple of games. First 2 weeks, you get a couple of games, and then week 3 is when real college football starts.
Yeah. Belichick got his ass kicked.
He did. I was disappointed in that.
His team. Sorry.
I was giving him. I gave him a little. I don't know. Like somebody said it. One of the talking heads I was listening to talking about it. Like there was an interesting little sub point. 70 new players to the program and him.
Wow.
And so some of that was like, some of that was kids transferring in because he was there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
An NFL roster is less than 70 players, period. He was in New England for 18, 17 years or something like that. As the Patriots head coach, winning 6 Super Bowls or whatever it was. 5 Super Bowls, and then Brady won the one after. I don't remember, 5 or 6 Super Bowls. With a 60-something man roster. He has a 100-something man roster. 70 of them are brand new to the program.
Why's the roster so damn big?
College ball is just like, that's how college ball is. Like, it's crazy. Like, I think for home games, you were allowed to dress 120 players. Jerseys have 2 digits. Your home roster has multiple numbers. Multiples of some numbers.
You just can't be out there at the same time.
Right. And there's been occasion, I can't remember who it was, a couple of years ago here in Tennessee. He was like a special teams guy, but he also played defense some. Like he was a start. Like he wasn't a starter per se. He did special teams. He was a punt returner or like one of the lead blockers on punt return and kickoffs and stuff like that. But he was also a defensive back. That was his real position. And so he's listed with both numbers because when he was playing defensive back, he had to wear a different number because there's another DB on the team that started that had that number. Yeah. And so that at some point during the game, he's on the sideline changing jerseys because one of the DBs got hurt and he was subbing in for him, but not the one with the same number that he was wearing. And so, like, he had to switch jerseys between plays a couple times during the game. But anyway, but that's a recruiting thing in college ball too.
He's playing Iron Man football.
He's like, it's weird. Like you can, like, do you know what the red shirt thing is? Like you hear him say it all the time.
You come in, be a freshman, and essentially get red shirted, and have a potential for playing for 5 years versus 4.
Right. It saves a year of eligibility, and you can play in up to 3 games on a red shirt and not lose it. So you can play on the team, just not for more than 3 games in the season, or they have to take your red shirt. And so if you're as a freshman, you come in as a freshman, they red shirt you. You're on the sideline, you're dressing for games. Somebody gets hurt and they have to throw you in or whatever. That's fine. You don't lose your red shirt. Happens a couple more times, it becomes an issue. And that's part of the crazy thing about coaching college football. Like, how do you remember that stuff? You're like, Timmy played 2 games already. He can play a little bit today. And now we're in there. I'm sorry. He played in 3 games already, and we want to keep his red shirt because we'd like to make sure he's eligible longer. But I kind of need him in right now. Do I want to burn his red shirt, or do I want to put somebody that I don't really like for that position in for the rest of this game, so I don't accidentally burn his red shirt because I want to save him?
No, maybe he's got a laminated Post-it note on his little
on his little piece of paper that he runs around with. But it's just a different. It's just a different level of stuff that college coaches have to think about and do that high school coaches don't.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would love to talk to Heupel about that part of stuff. Like, I don't want to care. I don't want to talk about who you're playing this weekend and how you're feeling about beating Georgia. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. I want to talk about these weird little things on what it's got to be like. Because I still there's part of me. I believe if I understand college football recruiting rules correctly, I believe he has to register with the NCAA when he goes and watches his kid play at West with us. Because if he doesn't, that can be seen as a recruiting violation because he's coming and being in the stadium and watching players play. Because even if staff recruiters that go out and watch high school games,
right,
they have to register that. Whether they're going to a local game or it's like, yeah, there's this kid in Texas, he's amazing, you go see him play. And there's a guy that's he's an employee of the University of Tennessee football program who gets on a plane, flies down to Texas, and goes to whatever random high school middle of nowhere, Texas, and sits and watches his kid play and takes notes and do all that stuff. But that's stuff that they have to document by NCAA rules. So I'm guessing that he as the coach follows under those rules. And if he's going to go watch his son play a high school game, he has to register that event.
You're like, no, I close my eyes and I'll listen to the radio broadcast.
I didn't look at any of the other players. I was only watching my son. But I'm not recruiting him. He's just my
tunnel
son.
Vision out there.
I mean, I'm not faulting anybody. I'm not saying the NCAA is messed up for making that rules. I'm not saying the coaches are messed up for probably violating those rules sometimes because, depending on what's going on, his ability to come to a game to see his son play might be in flux and he doesn't know he's going to have time because the press conference is supposed to be at the same time as kickoff, but the press conference ended quickly or they started early and he got out of there so he came to the game. I'm like it's not a fault thing. It's just that's got to suck. Because there's got to be it's got to be cool for the guy who is an employee of the UT football program, whose job is to double check compliance because he has a job. He has a job and probably gets paid well.
Yeah, to make sure we don't fuck up.
To make sure we don't do these things on accident. Now,
it's like
the Bruce Pearl situation where you're doing the coaches that do the things on purpose, that makes that guy's job suck.
Yeah.
But the ones that they're trying to save from the accidents. I mean, there's coaches on staff. There's a coach on staff. I don't remember what his title is. I think he's actually at UT. I think the current one is their strength and conditioning coach. So basically, he goes and sits with all the players and gives them their workout routines to go to the gym and what they're supposed to lift and when they're supposed to lift and how much and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's his day job during the week. But on game days, he is the sideline coach. And his job is to run up and down the sideline and make sure the players don't wander too close to the field and get the penalty for extra people being on the field. That's his job for the day. Yeah. And then there's another coach that both pro teams have and college teams have. There's another guy who's like a weekly coach that he does stuff during the week that's important. But on game day, his job is to make sure the head coach doesn't get a penalty for going too far on the field yelling at the referees. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mike Holmgren when he was in Dallas. That it was this little young kid, he looked like an intern kind of deal, who goes running on the field and grabs Mike Holmgren, the head coach of the football team, by the belt and pulls him backwards because he's yelling at the refs for a bad call or something like that. And his job for the day is to make sure Coach Holmgren,
his handler,
didn't get too far on the field and get them in trouble. That's his job for the day. Sports ball. That's the stuff that the more I've gotten into it, and what's been very interesting for me with my kid playing, trying to play, and me trying to learn about the position that they want him to play for them, it's kind of changed the way I've watched the game. It's different watching the game, trying to understand the perspective of the particular position.
Right.
Because we're so used to watching the game. I'm so used to watching the game more abstractly, and I want to see running backs and quarterbacks and wide receivers and big hits and all that kind of stuff. But trying to watch the position trying to watch offensive line while you're watching a football game, it really kind of changes. It's changed the way I've watched the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. I did cry last night too, by the way.
No.
He ran out of the band forms up their little tunnel, and the football team runs out there, and they run through the big banner, and he's out there running with them. I got excited.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I got misty on it. It made me happy.
We're talking about a bunch of coaches. I was watching something where they were comparing the organization of the Toronto Maple Leafs versus other kind of NHL teams as far as how many GMs. There's assistant to the GM. The Toronto Maple Leafs had a shit ton of people in their kind of upper level organization compared to some of the other teams. They're like, well, let's look at another team. They're like, okay, yeah, we do have a lot.
I mean, it's a fascinating business. Just as on the business front, it's a fascinating business to me. The business side of sports is super fascinating. I, as a Packers fan, get the joy of having picked up one of Jerry Jones's new most ridiculous. Maybe not. It's probably not a bad trade either way. It's probably a win-win long term for both teams. But we got Micah Parsons, one of the best defensive ends in football right now. We got Micah Parsons on my Packers now. We're 2 games in. He's already made a difference. He has helped us win both our 2 games that we've had so far. I'm super excited.
I saw they won last night or something.
Yeah, so the best example of this, so every year, and I've done this for a couple of years now, I put $100 on Green Bay to win the Super Bowl preseason. And so, last couple of years, to be fair to my Packers and my fandom, Packers have been a middle-of-the-road team. They're playoff capable, but they're not like Super Bowl caliber. They're right there. They're on the edge of. They're just not quite there. That's just where they are. So they're in the middle of the pack. So when you get into betting futures, the way future bets work, it's always plus something. You put $100 down. I think preseason Philly, who won the Super Bowl last year, was like plus 400, and they were one of the highest ranked to win the Super Bowl this next season. Kansas City, who lost in the Super Bowl to Philly, was like plus 550. Buffalo was like plus 600. And so that number meaning basically and then you all get all the way down to like Tennessee Titans, I think were plus 3,200. So if you put $100 on it and the Titans somehow win the Super Bowl of the year, you win $3,200. So the Packers are right in the middle of the pack where to be fair, was where they deserve to be. I put my bet in before the Micah Parsons trade. And so I got the Packers at plus 1,900. If my Packers can win the Super Bowl this year, I will win $1,900 off my $100 bet. Mm-hmm. I checked it today. We're 2-0 with Micah Parsons. We are now plus 550.
Damn.
So it is divided by 3 almost.
Right.
How much? A little more than 3. How Vegas thinks our chances are. So Green Bay went from about like 12th, 13th in odds to 2nd. Buffalo, Green Bay, Baltimore, I think, are the top 3 odds to win the Super Bowl as of today. So yeah, I was kind of like that Micah Parsons trade was a big deal, and like the business of it, and like I've watched some of the Talking Heads podcast. It's interesting. It's interesting for a lot of things, like the amount of money Micah Parsons is worth versus the amount of money that Micah Parsons wants versus the amount of your salary cap you can afford versus the rest of your team around it. It's like it's interesting because I think, to be fair, as much as I love to hate on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, it's not a bad trade. Green Bay, they get the next 2 first-round picks from Green Bay, which, considering how good Green Bay is likely to be over the next couple of years, they're going to be late first-round picks. Dallas has their own first-round picks, which are going to be higher than that because Dallas is not very good. They've got some other trades in the work. I think next year, as of right now, Dallas has 4 first-round picks already.
Damn.
And so basically it's an acknowledgement that they're okay right now, but they're not great. We have a lot of good pieces in place, but we need a couple more. We need a good handful of good pieces next year and the year after that, and then we're like, it's a building premise that Jerry Jones is running on. Not that he's going to be alive to see it when it comes to fruition, probably, because he's getting real old, but he is. And so, like, I can see how, from a Dallas fan's perspective, you get that out the salary cap. It gets you some. It's not going to win you the Super Bowl this year, but it's going to help put some more pieces in place so that you can become the legacy that the Cowboys deserve, or whatever. Cowboys fans are all delusional anyway, so good for them. My Packers, I think, are right in the, like, I think there's 1,000 reasons why this was a perfect deal for the Packers. It's out of character for them. They don't do this kind of thing generally. But for them to do it, I think it was a big piece missing in the program, and I think it's a good win for us. And I think Vegas agrees, and I'm excited as a Packers fan. All right. So I've been stalling on this because, A, I didn't want to talk about this in front of the kid, but B, do you want to talk about that? That's a couple weeks ago it came in. Timmy B's running around selling the wins of the Big Beautiful Bill.
Boost take-home pay. Have kids? Permanent child. Permanently expands a child tax credit.
I don't know. I don't know any of this. I don't have a clue about any of it, to be honest. What any of that means to anything. I'm not in the Medicare land.
Did you see he got into a scuffle, I think, this week?
I did see like push him. Somebody bumped him and then he pushed him over or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Apparently there was kind of conflicting stories, but apparently there's been actually like 1 or 2 people that had footage of it.
I mean, the story that I didn't want to, that I feel like I feel obliged to say something about. Tell me what your reaction to the Charlie Kirk situation was.
It's tragic.
I agree with that, but like that's it. Just tragic. Like, it sucks.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Oh,
I mean, it's a another tick on the list of political violence that's been going on.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't realize I didn't realize he was married and had a couple kids.
All right. Do you want to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, or do you want to stay in the more realistic?
I've heard a couple of the conspiracies that are already floating around.
I mean, I got to give credit to you know what? I'm gonna leave the credit off of the goal of the most plausible conspiracy theory that I've come up with at this time. So again, full disclosure, complete conspiracy theory. Actually, let's back up. I agree. It's fucked up. It's not cool. Not okay. I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I wouldn't say I was not a fan. I like Charlie Kirk in the sense that I felt like he was rational, and he would debate the conversation, and he would give reasons why he believes what he believes. I disagree with him, and that's okay. But he wasn't just because I said so, or he wasn't just because God said so. That's the one that I always hate, especially from the more Christian versions of the right. Like, hey, well, the book says so. It's like, I don't give a fuck about your book. He never went that way. He generally didn't go that way. He would add that in, but it was never the base of his argument. He always had a more logical, structured argument than just blaming it on God. Mm-hmm. And for the sake of discourse, we need people like that are willing to argue it and give good, valid reasons why, not make-believe reasons why. I believe that's an important part of discourse, and we all lose for not having that part of discourse anymore. That's one particular one who was particularly good at it. And so, one is tragic in and of itself, period, full stop. Anybody suffers a death like this and their families and all that stuff, that's tragic in and of its own right. But then I think the extra level of that being, he was one of the good ones. I won't say good ones in the sense of his thought process was correct, but he was willing to play. He was willing to discuss it. He was willing to debate the issue and give the reasons, as I just mentioned. Like that is the thing that we are missing in discourse at large, is people from I would like to see more of, and he liked to do it, but he was always in the own it thing, which I don't really like. But people on the same caliber of skill set with him, I would like to see more of that have the opposite view on an issue. Like him and Dave Smith they had a conversation. It wasn't technically a debate. I think it was him. I might be conflating him with. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Dave Smith's one of the libertarian guys that I like a whole lot. Dave Smith and him would, if they haven't done it in reality, they could have sat in a room together and done an Oxford style debate, or just done a more casual debate. And the two of them would give good reasons why, and it would not turn into this personal attacks on each other thing. And they would play the game of a debate where you and I could watch it and go, okay, he makes a good point. Well, he makes a good point. And then at the end of the debate, we can decide from the points they made which decision we think makes more sense. And we need that. We need more of that. That's what we need politics to be, not what it's becoming.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that we lose because we lost him. We lose the ability for him to debate people of his caliber, which again, I will acknowledge that he wasn't super awesome. It was usually him on stage with somebody that was friendly with him talking, and then they would do his Q&As where they pick apart some college kid. It's like, come on, man, you're kind of picking on some weak chaff here, but some good quotes out of it. The best quote, not the best quote, how do I over this? What has now become the most infamous quote out of his mouth is about his thoughts on gun control. Which, this is where I get into the conspiracy motive, is could you pick a better person to assassinate with a gun than Charlie Kirk? It's the perfect quote. He has now died by the quote that he lived by.
I think so. He said it right before it happened.
He said it a bunch of times. This is an old, it's an old quote. It's been around for, the first time he said it was probably 4 or 5 years ago when he first started getting big.
I didn't know it was a common quote, but he said something about it.
Yeah, it's he said he basically acknowledges that anybody dying from gun violence sucks, but it is a logical and rational trade-off for the need for the Second Amendment, in his opinion. We need the Second Amendment to protect us from a tyrannical state, which I know we have a whole subset of arguments on that kind of stuff. And that as much as I don't like it, a consequence of having of needing to have this, needing to have the Second Amendment to defend ourselves against. This is going to be a side effect of it, an unfortunate side effect, but a side effect that I'm willing to live with. Is basically the gist of the quote.
Yeah.
Well, now you get to be willing to die with it, and that sucks. But like for martyr's sake, for anything, for anybody that's pro Second Amendment, have a martyr in it, which is never good because anytime a martyr's involved, that usually is the one thing that shuts down the dialogue and turns it into more violence. And so I'm scared. I'm scared of a lot of things of where this is going from here. And I'm upset that I'm not surprised. Like, it's a little shocking, but it wasn't as shocking as that. Like, looking back from when it happened and when I heard about it a couple days ago, I was like, oh shit. But like in hindsight, I feel like I should be like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the difference in those two things. Like it was just kind of like, oh shit. Somebody shot the president or the presidential front runner. And another guy that was setting up to shoot the guy, and it's like it's upsetting to me how not upset I was at it. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
Like it's just like how like not surprised I am by this at this point.
Yeah, it's becoming all too often. I mean, it happened just a few months ago.
Right, and I think, right, there's just shit in Minnesota.
Yeah,
that shit's crazy too. But like the thing to me. And the silver lining in this whole thing to me is I had a great conversation with my eldest on the ride home from school because he was the one that kind of like I think he said something to me about it. I was like, yeah, I thought I heard something about it. What's going on? He's like, yeah, somebody shot him. Blah blah blah. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, the more like as more's come out about it now, and I've had a couple of days to think about it. One of the things that I think is important to wrestle with in thinking about what we just experienced as a nation. Is this guy lived online? That's where I guarantee it. We'll find out more details as things come. We've already found out a few here and there. And we as a society need to have a real conversation about how we feel about social media. Because I don't think it's a hard leap for somebody to get to this point where they think this is the rational thing to do. If you're living the majority of your life in some sort of social media sphere, and that's your majority of your interactions with other people, you might go to work, but work sucks, blah, 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 and you get home and you go pick fights on Facebook or whatever it is you do with your spare time. Which I do. I engage in that. I see you giggling, shut your face. And I'll acknowledge just at some point that I've kind of had to catch myself and fallen a little too deep in it because the algorithm doesn't care. All the algorithm wants is you to play with it.
They just want engagement.
And so whatever you engage with is what it's going to feed you. And the algorithms have all figured out pretty quick that the most engaging things are shit that pisses you off.
Exactly.
And so if you get up in the morning and you check your Facebook feed and it's all a bunch of people saying all the things that you hate so much about the world right now, and then you go to work, take a shit, take a shower, eat lunch, finish your day at work, come home and get back on there, and it's all a different set of people. And so it's like, it's not like it's one person over and over again. It's thousands of different people's posts that different people are liking and sharing and commenting on that are all saying all the things that you hate about the world. It's not a crazy leap to go, well,
I wonder how many people are actually that varied, I guess, in the content that they absorb.
I mean, it's what they interact with. Ari Shaffir did a great social experiment on it. It's one of the most fascinating little things that's ever existed in the history of time. Ari Shaffir on his YouTube channel, or on his YouTube watching scroll through thing, he would only pause, like he just spent like a couple months, like forcing himself that whenever he got on YouTube, he would scroll through, and when it was a cute dog, or when it was a dog or animal video, he would pause on it. Maybe like it, but at least slow down. Not pause it, but pause so that it stayed playing for a second. And then scroll, and then puppies, like that. Kittens, watch about 15 seconds of this. And he did it for like a month. And then at the end of the month, he started scrolling through it, and then every single thing on his feed were puppies and kittens.
Yeah, I've known that for a little while. Somebody was telling me when they were on Facebook trying to scroll down that Facebook actually like made them slow down, like it wouldn't like load lower stuff. Because they almost wanted them to like slow down. I guess they were like, going through their timeline or whatever, your main feed. they were going through it like super fast.
Yeah, probably looking for people they actually know who they are, which is one of the things that I like. I mean, anyway, but I'm gonna say it like so. To go back to the point, yes, but the algorithm doesn't give a shit. It's whatever you want. It's whatever takes.
Right, but I wonder how many people have like their 3 or 4 podcast, webcast, whatever. Presenters that's all they listen to.
Yeah.
Or I wonder, versus how many people actually, are more varied and are those people that are just,
I'd say it's pretty honed in. I'd say a lot of people are pretty honed into their little bubble. It's gonna be some stuff of people that agree with them on things, and then it's gonna be most people that they disagree with on things. I mean, like I'll say, like on mine, the 3 or 4 people that I see most on my feed when I scroll through it are 3 or 4 local people whom I totally disagree with on almost all of their politics locally. And that's anecdotal from my perspective kind of thing. But
you've engaged with them more often.
But I've engaged with them, and I've tried to explain to, one of them was there's one, Michelle Ivester, local, who said something stupid about Chilhowee Park. And I'm like, you need to time out here. Chilhowee Park is not a park. Stop thinking of it as a park. And it's like, well, it says in this plan that whatever, and it's called this park in open space. It's like, yes, it is zoned as an open space. You cannot build a building. You could not build a massive building on that, no matter who owns it, whether it's the city or anybody else. But it is not a park. It is an event and special. It's a special event and something space. I can't remember what it's technically called by city standards.
A small area with pavilions, part of the park, isn't it?
It's not a park. None of it is a park.
As part of the...
Chilhowee Park is a misnomer, a part of the venue. It is a venue.
A part of the venue is that park-looking area, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But none of it is a park in the way that we use the term park. And so anyway, she pops up in my feed all the time saying things that I totally disagree with. And I don't interact as much as I used to because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole all the time and be called an idiot. But my point is that it would be very easy if I wanted to, if I had limited engagement outside in the rest of my life where I didn't have all the things I have going on with work and doing this podcast and those other podcasts that I do and my kids in school and blah, blah, blah. If I didn't have all the other stuff going on, but if that was the majority of my, quote, social interaction in my life, I would be much more inclined to engage with people who I thought were wrong. Because what else am I doing? Sitting around my house, I'm at work, doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I don't see it as a big leap if you're a person that is in that situation where the perspective gets so bleak that it's like Charlie Kirk, MAGA, all these other psycho right-wing fascists are taking over, and if I don't do something, anything good in the world is going to get snuffed out. Like it doesn't feel like that. Like I can respect the idea that that's not a big logical leap. Because the other way to do it is think about what would it take for you? What would the situation need to be for you to make that jump?
I don't have to be really severe. I don't know.
But I mean,
I hope I would never get to that point. I'm a pretty nonviolent person.
I mean, I can agree with you on that, but at the same time, it's like if it feels existential, that's where if it feels like an existential threat to your way of life, to your family, to your friends, to your community, whatever that community might happen to be. If it feels like an existential threat to you, that's where the leap gets made in anybody's decision-making.
Yeah, but I think it's also kind of delusional. They think that one person is going to fix that. Or getting rid of one person is going to...
it's the one spark starts the fire, or whatever you want to, that kind of phrasing on it. It's got to start somewhere. I love the phrase, if not me, who, if not now, when. That's one of my favorite, mantras of life. It can get it can go dark. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, if you're sitting here watching this for days and months and weeks and years, and you're participating in it, and you're fighting back in all the normal quote unquote formats, which is mostly people arguing on Facebook, but you go out and you're voting for Kamala and this fucking Trump guy wins, and you're voting for these people and these other people win, and you're seeing things get worse and in real life and online and all these different things. It's like I don't see it as a huge leap. Because again, this is where I think we focus on the symptoms and not the actual sickness a lot. Because the sickness is we have a societal rot, period. We have no discourse in politics anymore that is decent. You know, like we're voting. Like, I mean, we elected a felon. I mean, you know, like but we elected a felon because because people could rationalize. I'd rather have a felon over that person.
Right.
It's like, well, how bad is that person? You know, at least rhetorically, maybe they're not a bad person. Maybe Kamala wasn't the worst thing ever. But like, you know, how poor does that person present if they can't beat a felon in an election? On that election, especially, but then back it down local, which most people don't pay attention to anyway, which is part of the problem. If you engage with local politics, it's a whole different animal, and you can actually feel like, you know, there's some voice heard and stuff like that. But at the same time, like again, like I get it. Like I don't condone it, but I get it. I get where I don't feel like it's a huge leap with the world that we're living in now. I think the kid was 22.
Something like that, I think.
That they arrested is 22. It's a bunch of.
No, I think I saw he was born in 26 or 2006. Could be wrong.
So 19, even better. Either way, I'm just saying, like, you know, this is a kid. You know, it's a kid that grew up in, you know, at least with any sort of like ability to even remotely rationally understand what's going on around him in the greater world.
Yeah, I think some of his family members or friends or something said that he'd gotten more political in the past few years. You know, and it's like, you know, it's again, it's like, you know, you can go to a lot of places, like depending on how you want to define the term, like what radicalized you about X, Y, or Z. Right.
You know, like I can go back and like, you know, I think, you know, like the Rodney King beating, it was probably the beginning of my radicalization about police. How I feel about police probably shifted with that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the first step in when I started being much less blindly friendly to cops. Maybe I don't know what the word is. I'm not sure what the word is, but that's where I got more suspicious of police officers. Maybe a better way to do it.
We were pretty young when that happened.
Okay, I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe that isn't the initial one, but
right.
It's one that came to mind just now when I was kind of blanking on it. But you know, what radicalized me against the two-party system? Probably Trump. Probably the 2016 Trump campaign. Like, this is a joke. These parties are a joke. There is no logic or rhyme or reason to any of this. And I think, you know, you take who did he run against the first time? Hillary,
yeah.
You know, the Trump-Hillary campaign. It's like, this is the two best you guys can come up with? Are we fucking serious right now? Yeah, that absolutely was yeah. The finality of those primaries is what absolutely turned me into a radical, non-partisan person.
I think like the 2000 election probably made me more cynical of two parties. Gore Bush, the hanging chads.
That's a pretty crazy one. I was actually there's a whole series on a podcast. There's a whole like 8-part series podcast that's talking about that.
Yeah,
breaking all that down into different parts and pieces, because there's something like, it's just like the first episode was just Florida stuff. It's really fascinating. Like, you know, they like to blame it on, like the narrative at the time was blamed on this, that, and the other. But like, there's a whole bunch of little stuff back in the day. Like, apparently, Clinton was trying to suck up to the Cuban American population down in the Miami area, and Hurricane Andrew came through and destroyed Homestead Air Force Base. And the Democratic mayor of Miami at the time, and Bill Clinton, on his second campaign, ran on rebuilding not only that Air Force Base, but turning it into a commercial airport. The big wigs and the mayor of Miami, as well as a bunch of the big business interests in Miami, were really wanting to have that airport get put in there. And then, you know, the Monica thing kind of derailed Clinton's ability to it, and Gore would not commit to it when he was running, because he kept like deferring to some process stuff, and then deferring to, because it's right in the middle of the Everglades, and there's just all this. Just Homestead Air Force Base is now where Alligator Alcatraz is, funnily enough. But it's like this whole big thing about like Gore's inability to suck up to the Cuban American community in South Florida, specifically on this Homestead Air Force Base thing that they were trying to get done for, you know, the last 4 years of the Clinton administration. You know, like, it's arguable that issue alone would have won Gore the election if he would have just come out and been like, yes, we're going to get this airport built.
Yeah, it was a very tight race.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and it's because you can and I think the premise of the entire, it's like an 8-episode series. Each episode is a particular Florida issue that Gore could have won on, but didn't. But missed just failed the opportunity that he could have potentially won on.
Right.
And so it was very fascinating. But anyway, yeah. That was a crazy one. I think I think some of my weird, complicated issues about not going in the military and not having guilt about feeling guilty about not enlisting. And then hating myself for feeling guilty about wanting to enlist and all sorts of weird stuff like that, like very personal weird shit, like in the whole post 9/11. Now that we get to anniversary 24 years yesterday, like that whole thing is part of my radicalization against. Like I don't believe the federal government of the United States gives a shit about me or you. And the grand me or you. Let me clarify, because I always say me or you. And this time I specifically mean us in general. We are plebs that grind the machine out, that get the funding and make the money and can be collateral for loans to do the things that these people want to do that have nothing to do with us. But looking back in Iraq and looking back at Iraq 1, as a kid at like 12 or 13, like getting really excited about my stupid military baseball cards that were coming out at the time.
I didn't have those.
Like it was like I don't remember what it was. Like I feel like it was like a fucking cereal box thing or something like that. There was like a pack of 3 or 4 cards and like my Wheaties or whatever. And I got really into collecting them. I had my Norman Schwarzkopf general card and all this, like all these different colonels and stuff like that. Because we're glorifying what exactly? At the time, I didn't get it. It was America and freedom and whatever. It was whatever the propaganda we were told.
Right.
And then Iraq 2 and Afghanistan. And I'm sitting here going like, what are we doing? Like, what's the point of this? And then people that I knew that went, the people that I knew when they came back are all fucked up, and all the different people I've met that have come back and they're fucked up, and all this different shit. And as much as a couple weeks ago, when I was going off on how scared I am about my kids enlisting, and how you were making the point of, despite being in 5 wars at the same time, most people don't see any real action. I see a lot of people that saw real action in my daily life. If most people didn't see it, great, but I seem to find the ones that do in my daily life.
I'd say some of those people are connected to other people that have, because they tend to make more. You find more veterans.
They congregate, right? The people that have seen similar shit like to hang out and talk about the shit they've seen because nobody else gets it,
right?
But so that's like, I mean, if you want to get the brief history of me and my political journey and why I feel the way I feel about stuff, it's stuff like that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It goes, and then we go to current. We can talk about Ukraine and Israel for the 17,000th time on this podcast. It doesn't, it makes no sense. Like, we can talk about the history and we can talk about why we do this, that, and the other, and even though you can explain to me why, it still doesn't make sense. Like, why, I've asked the question 1,000 times and I'm asking it rhetorically now. There is no... One of the things that I've been trying to practice, and I suck at, but I'm trying to practice it, is one of the things, if you feel good about your argument, you need to understand what you would have to learn to change your stance. Does that make sense?
Say it again.
Like one thing you should always ask yourself when you feel like if you're confident about your argument on a thing, like Ukraine, for example, like what evidence would have to be presented to me that would make me change my mind about how I feel about our involvement in the Ukraine situation?
Yeah.
And I've thought about it a lot, and it's a hard one, because I can't imagine what could possibly make this a good decision for us. Is this step one in Putin taking over all of Europe? Okay, like if you could prove that to me, then maybe I'll soften my stance on. It's not. But the problem is that's my problem. That's my problem on this one, is I can't come up with a provable counter to my argument. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I could, if you could prove to me that Putin's intent is to take over all of Europe and bring back the old Soviet Union style control of all of Europe, not just Eastern Europe, but all of it. If you can prove that to me, then I would say, yeah, we need to be, not only do we need to be helping the Ukrainians indirectly, we should be directly over there. If that's true. But that's an unprovable truth at this point.
It's clear he wants to reunite the old.
It's been speculated, right? Which, you know, I don't know, because the old former bloc is a subset of conversation, because there's parts of the old former bloc that, at least on some small locality levels, would like to be back part of Russia.
I think Belarus is the only country that's really friendly.
They're certainly super excited, active about it. Yeah, they're real. I mean, your name is.
The other ones.
Your name is Beautiful Russia. I think you would think you're probably pretty high on those people.
Right. But if you look at 90% of the others, they're like, hell no, we're glad we got out. We remember when we got invaded.
Yeah. You know, and you know, because the other one too is like, you know, like that's it. But that's the best I could come up with theoretically on what would change my mind on how I feel about Ukraine.
Right.
And none of that is to accept none of that is to advocate or accept the fact that it's okay what Putin's doing. It's not my approval of his tactic. It's just the only thing it's a fair thing for me to respond to is our response to him,
right?
Not what he's doing. It's not fair for me to say, well, he shouldn't do that. Well, whatever. I have zero influence over our government. I have less than zero influence over theirs. You know, like I theoretically, on paper, have some influence over this government. I don't, but like theoretically, I could, sort of, if the system was true to what we were taught it was.
Right.
And it's the same with Israel right now too. It's the same thing to me. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, you could draft a bill that went all the way up to the House.
Yeah, I could. No, I can't. I don't know how to write that shit.
Right.
I could hire a lawyer to draft a bill to take it all the way up to the House.
True.
My favorite news story of the week, we're getting to the end of this, and I need to calm down. I'm getting really excited about my radicalization points in history. I mean, it's not, but like it's like I wouldn't call myself like some like psycho terrorist radical or anything, but that's like, you know, people look at me sideways when I identify to them as a libertarian. Like they're like, why would you do that? You're just throwing away your vote or whatever. It's like I'd rather throw my away. Like at this point, I'd rather waste everybody's time than actively participate in the bullshit that you guys are putting in front of me. That's just where I am. Because of all the reasons stated and 1,000 more that we didn't talk about. Like, this is dumb, and to pretend otherwise is just crazy to me. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my favorite news story of the week is there is a Farragut resident who has taken a case to the Supreme Court over what is it called? The aldermen, whatever their government title is for the township of Farragut, about them violating his First Amendment rights. And like it's gone to circuit court, it's gone through all this stuff, and all these judges are like, no, there's no case here, man. And he just keeps taking it uphill and taking it uphill. And it's the funniest thing.
The Supreme Court decided to take it up as an issue?
No, they haven't. But he's got it. He's submitted it too, because the circuit court and the second court of appeals or whatever it is, like the circuit court judge said, no, you got nothing here, go away. And he appealed it to some panel, and the whole panel unanimously said, no, there's nothing here, go away. And he won't accept no for an answer from any judges, so he's taking it to the Supreme Court at this point. It's a really weird story. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
it got out of the state Supreme Court?
Yeah, I think he just skipped it. I think he didn't go to any state stuff because he.
Okay, I guess it's a federal issue,
right? If his arguments they violated civil rights, so he's trying to get the Supreme Court of the United States to instruct the Sixth Circuit Court judge panel to uphold the Constitution by reopening his case, which would include reclusing one of the judges because there's some interest in play. It's weird, like this weird thing, and it's all over some ordinance that the township of Farragut had passed, and he was upset by it, and so he went out and put a bunch of signs out that were outside of the completely separate ordinance that is the sign ordinance for the township of Farragut. And for them taking down his signs and fining him for putting up these signs in different places in town, I don't remember what the initial one, I don't remember the specifics of the initial, but his argument is that they're infringing on his freedom of speech by upholding their ordinance for signage in the township of Farragut.
I haven't heard anything about that.
It's crazy. It's a crazy weird story, but apparently
how long's been going on?
I mean, it's been years in the works. Yeah. The filing just went to the Supreme Court this week, and that's why it was an item of note in the news for this particular week.
Kicking it up to the top.
Kicking it all the way up.
Sounds like it probably won't get taken up. Because they only take up so many cases anyway.
They're going to dismiss it offhand. The only other item of note would be the Big Ears lineup was announced. We got David Byrne from Talking Heads coming back, and the Page or Plant, I can't remember which one of those Led Zeppelin guys who's not dead yet, which is, I guess, John Bonham. Did John Bonham die?
Yeah,
John Bonham died forever ago. I'm sorry, did John Paul Jones? Is he still alive?
Think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. One of the two that everybody, one of the other two that are the more important two.
I looked at the lineup. I can't remember some of the big names I read.
But those are the top two names that I saw in discussion among many others. So
I don't think I saw anybody that really interested me, and I was like, read through them. I'm like, I don't recognize 98%.
Not as good as
not that I'm got my ear to the ground in the music scene or anything like that.
I mean, and Scott made a good point. Like Scott's thing, and I'm pretty sure Scott gets a media pass, but he made a good point. He's like, I don't know. Like most times I go and I get he's like, I'll go downtown and I'll just pop my head into venues because I don't know any of the people.
Right.
Like you look at the listings, I'm like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Oh, Bella Fleck, but it's Bella Fleck with these people, not the Flecktones or whatever. Like it's him doing a different, because there's one of the acts that's coming who's a jazz guy, and he's got like 4 different events in Big Ears this year. Because he's doing a thing with this group and another thing with this other group and another thing with this other group.
I thought somebody was playing with like the local orchestra.
Yeah, I think that might be the one I'm talking about. I think he's a jazz pianist, and he's doing some stuff with this and some stuff with that, but like he's got such a collection of work and works of people that he's worked with that he's doing basically 3 different events in the same weekend. And so, anyway, Big Ears is back, everybody. I've yet to do anything with Big Ears other than wish that I could be a small venue in some weird side thing.
They were worried how it would be affected. I think they announced that they lost like $50,000 in funding that was going to come to them.
Yeah. Again, this goes into the, I have a lot of questions and curiosities and confusions about how not-for-profit events work, because they're a tax-exempt organization, the Big Ears is. Mm-hmm. And that's how they got grant funding to do what they were doing and stuff like that, which is fine, whatever. I don't know I don't know how the profit, I'd love to look into the books and just be curious how this thing works. Because, I mean, they're obviously spending a ton of money on artists.
Right.
You know, and they're presumably renting the venues. They're not given the venues, or at least the big venues. Like, you got to pay for the Tennessee Theater. You don't just go like, hey, I want to do something at the Tennessee Theater this weekend. They're like, okay, cool. No. They're...
Right. It's free, yeah, sure.
It's $25,000.
We'll get you a key.
You know, what exactly are you trying to do? Depending on what you specifically need is going to depend on the price of what we give you the room for. You know, and so obviously, like, there's significant cost that goes into putting this event on. But I'm pretty confident they're making some pretty good money. They've got to be making some money.
Yeah, some places they have it at are also probably making some money they wouldn't have otherwise had made on that weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, I'm not complaining about it per se, but it's just like, you know, the nonprofit industry as a whole is a very wonky bracket of tax exemptions and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I will be the president of a nonprofit corp here in the state of Tennessee next week. My IRS filings is going to take a lot longer to get settled, but it's a weird thing. You know, it's not a weird thing. I mean, like, the intent of it and the definition of why I get to create this tax exempt entity is within the rules. I'm not trying to scam anything. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But it's just like, you know, the intent with what I'm trying to do is to build up a neighborhood and invest in it and do all these different things. But it's like, you know, I could do it as a for-profit, but why would I? Because I can make no money as a for-profit. That's what I've done the last 2 years with Holaroo. I own the LLC that does Holaroo, and I've made no money. And I've not paid taxes as an individual on it.
Right.
It has paid some taxes in and of itself, but the taxes that it's paid to do what it does doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's part of me, like, the only reason I really want the nonprofit is it changes my ability to do things with the city. and what the city will allow me to do without bringing in a different nonprofit.
Right.
Like, I have no issues. Like, I very much, like, full disclosure, Ex-Hunger was great. They were really fun to work with. We raised some good money for them, and I was glad to help them. But I only included them because I couldn't do what I wanted to do without them. And now that I'm going to be the nonprofit, I can do the same thing that I did, but instead of giving money to the nonprofit, I can keep that for my nonprofit to do what my nonprofit's doing.
Right.
So, anywho, let's get weird for a couple minutes and let's get out of here. I mean, I guess it's fair that we go in a little long since we didn't do last week at all.
Not average.
I got really excited and yelling and screaming about my radicalism and lost a couple things I want to talk about. I don't think we settled the Charlie Kirk thing. Oh yeah, I do want to do that, but do your weird. The second news of the weird is going to be my conspiracy theory.
Okay. We got meth burned by FBI smokes out Montana animal shelter.
Got a bunch of meth up dogs?
No, I'm assuming they were doing like literally incinerating drugs would be my guess.
Yeah, but that smoke's got to have some of that shit in it. Yeah. Dogs are breathing that in.
From 2 pounds of meth seized by the FBI incinerated inside a Montana animal shelter. Since its workers to the hospital, city officials and billing said.
They burn inside it because they probably have a good... They probably, when they're cremating animals...
See, apparently because of negative pressure that sucked it back inside.
Oh, dang.
A fan was supposed to be on a new hand in situations to reverse the pressure so smoke would flow out of the building.
So we got a bunch of meth up.
So I guess they were using the incinerator. I guess the animal shelter has that.
Yeah, so I was going to say, the animal shelter probably has a incinerator for when they're cremating.
Yeah. I think about that. I'm like, why the fuck are they burning meth in there?
Yeah. I mean,
how much they paid them to. Can we use your incinerator?
I'm trying
it's going to be a lot of power to burn that shit.
But I'd be charging extra because of because of something like this. I would think if I were the insurer of said animal shelter, I'd be like, no, you do not let them do that. And if you want to let them do that, this is your new premium. And so if I'm the animal shelter, I'm charging you twice the premium.
Apparently every couple of months they used it.
So it's a regular thing. I mean, maybe. I mean, if they're getting... Shit. Anyway, sorry, hit the wrong button. Freaked out a little bit. Yeah, but if they're offsetting the cost, it's a regular thing. I guess that makes sense. Not so kudos for their execution of their task, but I guess that's okay. No harm, no foul. Everybody got taken care of. FBI paid the medical bills.
I don't know if they've gotten that far yet. Apparently some of the people went to the hospital, I'm assuming, for probably like inhalation.
All right. My turn to get weird. So, my conspiracy theory, full-on tinfoil hat, is the Trump administration sent out an FBI, CIA, somebody like that, to commit said assassination to ramp up the fear and concern about crime and all that kind of bullshit so they could shove more National Guard into different major cities around. It's like, we're going to put these guys in here to clean up the crime in all these cities so that something like this doesn't happen again.
Memphis just got announced today, I think.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about them sending anybody to Utah, but they might be now.
I don't know how big Salt Lake City is. I know, like, Chicago and Baltimore have been floated.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was funny. Not funny. I've been trying to go down the route. I've been exploring the ideas of trying to, like, if this is some sort of grand conspiracy, what would be the logical, what would make sense? Because a good conspiracy theory's got to have some sort of okay, I kind of see where that could be plausibly real. And that's the best I can come up with is, because if it's a left-wing plot, if it's some, democratic socialist crazy, Antifa kind of plot, if you bother reading any sort of history, you should know better because you're you're making a martyr out of a guy, and that's only going to embolden your enemy. It's not going to stop them. You know what I'm saying?
I think there was some anti-fascist stuff that it was apparently like inscribed or engraved on some of the casings.
But there was also like some internet trolley stuff, and so like to me, like that the Antifa hint is as likely a troll as it is anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know, I'm not obliged to tell the truth on whatever kind of random crazy bullshit I'm putting out right now. So I'm going to put out I'm like, you know, because like what was the last one in the last one in the magazine said, if you're reading this, you're gay. LFAO or whatever. LMFAO. Yeah, that's what it was. This is the last one said, if you're reading this, you're gay. LMFAO. Yeah. Which is laugh my fucking ass off or whatever.
No, it's a hit
which is like the trolliest of, like, it's the most old school basic trolliest of things to do is like, hey, if you're reading this, you're gay, you know, like whatever.
Right.
But then there was some trans shit floating around that he was some trans right activist and stuff like that. There's some,
I heard that get
crazy. But you know, but again, like it's okay. So like I could see, like on a conspiracy theory, I could see from like a far right lunatic version of it is like, we'll make a martyr out of this guy, blame it on the left, and that'll embolden other people like me to step up and do things like I did.
Right.
Or there's the, you know, he betrayed the cause superfan thing. Like I worshipped him like a god, and he said something somewhere that fell short of my expectation, and so I had to kill him because he betrayed what he told me he stood for, kind of thing.
Right.
Like that one I kind of floated around, but it's like none of those make any sense in a long game end to me. Especially in the grander landscape. And so the only one in the super conspiracy theory, let me reiterate, super conspiracy theory version of this, the only one that makes sense to me is you could make the play of like, this was the false flag event that gave permission for the Trump administration to do some of the fucked up shit that they've been trying to do, but getting pushed back. The only reason they did DC is because the way the federal land that is DC works let them get away with it, where they couldn't do it in other cities. Well, now they can claim some emergency status as shit, bullshit, whatever, and push harder.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't going to do it anyway, but this just makes it easier. And, you know, just like, you know, post 9/11, 24 years ago yesterday, gave us the stupid terror warning color chart that we got to see every morning.
Right.
You know, just make sure we keep people a little bit scared, and then every once in a while hype it up, and then settle it back down.
Wow, with that little orange.
You know, but you know, just as long as there's a good, you know, you're 3 out of 10 on the scale of fear for the general masses. We can pop it up to 5, 6 every once in a while. We never go past 8. But this is like, you know, this is the some cabal pushing the line. We've been at 3 in fear. We need to pop it up to 5. So we need a 7-level event so that we can settle it back down to 5, and they'll feel better. But all that shit we get to do between 3 and 5 is shit that we've been wanting to do, but we've gotten too much pushback so far.
Yeah. There's definitely some crazy shit that's come out afterwards. A number of like professors have gotten, I think there was like a NBC or MSNBC commentator that got fired. I think I read that like 2 faculty, I think at ETSU got let go.
Yeah.
1 professor at MTSU, which I think Kirk was supposed to come speak at MTSU in like the next month or so.
Well, they get Ben Shapiro instead, so apparently he's announced that he's going to pick up and do the rest of his tour. And all the proceeds go to the family, which is pretty legit of him to do.
Yeah.
Pretty ballsy, I guess, too, if you're going to, you know, the last guy got shot doing this job, so you're going to volunteer for that?
I watched some like legal analysts that was getting asked if the school might have any kind of like liability for not having as tight of security.
I mean, it's an interesting. That was one of the things they were talking about on Breaking Points today. Like you've seen the shift to more outdoor events from these public speakers, because most of them don't charge. Like it's not a ticketed event. Like it's ticketed. Some of them are ticketed, but they're not pay tickets. It's just sign up and get a ticket. And so some of these speakers have had issues where a bunch of people are buying up all the tickets and not coming, or buying up all the tickets and filling the seats with people that just sit there and heckle them the whole time. And so they've been doing these outdoor events because it's a little bit easier to keep it open to the public. And so even if handful of seating that is ticketed gets taken up by people that you don't necessarily want to be there because they're coming to protest you. There's still enough space and room and whatever for other people to join in. But then you lose that security measure of having rooftops being points of security failure. I would
assume most or some, or at least not completely general admission. They at least have some kind of fenced off area for certain ticket holders or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and so but they've been moving them outside as a reaction to the protesters kind of eating up all the, because if it's indoors you have a capacity issue because fire code and this, that, and the other,
Right.
And so you can only have so many people in there, and so how do you limit who's there? Is it first come, first serve, or do you do some sort of thing where you release it on a website that you hope only your fans are following, but then people that hate you are following them too, just to fuck with you, kind of thing? And so apparently that's been one of the things where they'll release the registration for tickets on like one of their websites and on their socials, but a bunch of people follow them on their socials just because they want to heckle them and protest them. And so by doing so, when they post it, one of the people that trolls their account takes it over into another group of other people, like-minded people that like to troll them too, and say, "Hey, he's doing this event. The tickets go on sale then. Everybody click. Let's go yell at him. Let's buy all his tickets up so the idiots that think he's right don't get to hear him." Which, I mean, it's a fun tactic. I actually kind of appreciate that as a tactic.
I mean, even outdoor spaces have fire codes.
Yeah.
They're much larger, though.
Right. Then they got more room to kind of breathe it. Yeah. So, anyway, that's my conspiracy theory version. You got one more weird for us? You want to call it there?
Nah, let's call it. I didn't see any other really good ones.
All right. No Florida man, nothing?
No Florida man.
All right. No Florida man, nothing. That's a podcast, everybody. The other one was that I just blanked on his name. Elio Gonzalez. Remember that story? That was right there during the Gore Bush thing.
Right.
And so again, Gore didn't support the Cuban American community who wanted the U.S. to not let the dad come pick him up and take him back to Cuba.
Yeah.
And so that was another subset faction of the Florida electorate that Gore had alienated by not
makes sense
doing X, Y, and Z. And so like it's really neat. It was only the first episode of it. There's the other one. The reason I started following that episode is because they've got a Benghazi series on that channel. Because I've talked a lot of shit about Benghazi and Clinton for Benghazi and all that stuff, and I don't understand it as well as I probably should have talked so much shit. So I'm getting the real history of Benghazi from this guy. So anyway, almost again, everybody, check out whatever. Go search Benghazi on your favorite podcast provider. You'll find the one I'm talking about. Almost Agreement, also agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those. Almost.com. Check out all the things together. Friend, like, share, follow, text us to a friend of yours, and help us do what we need to do to get this show off the floor. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night. We're glad to be back. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.